medical facilities are proposed on this park, with associated parking and utilities. Potentially have a future expansion over the next 10 to 15 years. And yes, those are the questions.
Do we have any questions for our applicant? I do have one. Is it correct that you have already had a traffic study done through DOT?
Correct, yes, and it's been approved by DOT, and I sent that to Jason today.
Okay, thank you. With that traffic study, what was the general consensus? What was the,
So they are going to request us to do some improvements, some we expected, some we may not have expected. We are going to add a signal at the intersection across from the QT, which we expected. We have the decel lane coming off of 418. Ones that we did not expect, but we are going to do are a dedicated right turn lane from 418 onto the on-ramp, and signal modification for that.
okay, all right, cool, thank you. Any other questions for applicant?
I have a few questions, Mr. Chairman. I would like to comment you on the traffic study there. We did get a copy of it about 2 hours ago, and I was going to say it's very, very thorough, but also a little concerning. I think most people know here that the traffic in that area is not great. And I realize this facility hasn't caused that problem. It will somewhat exacerbate it, I guess, but not to the degree that the residential development has really caused the problem there. But I do appreciate the improvements that you're making. Couple of quick questions. This site abuts a residential development just to the south. I've talked to a couple of people back there, and they're wondering about the buffering and screening and also the lighting. This might be in the future phases, but it's backed by the property almost comes up to the detention pond of that subdivision, and there's in the photos you provided, it must have been a couple of years old, but there's houses all along there now. They were just wondering what the lighting and buffering was going to look like.
So we currently propose and we're going to keep a 30-foot landscape buffer around the whole site. The area that does abut the residential, that is a much later phase, so that will have to come before staff again and go through the whole process
Yep.
again. Prisma wants to be good neighbors. They don't want to show light into the neighbor. They make sure that their lighting is not obtrusive and welcoming.
Okay, I don't think, they really didn't have any real major problems with it. They were just curious as to what was going to happen there. Also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we definitely will have a minimum of a 30-foot buffer.
Okay. Also, what are the proposed hours of operation of this facility?
It's just, for these two, it's just office buildings, so I believe 7 to 5. Unfortunately, the
Yeah.
owner wasn't able to make it tonight, but I believe it's a normal office hours.
Okay, that's good.
But it's not a hospital that would be running overnight.
Right, okay. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for applicant?
I have one. Just when I was looking at the traffic study, it said the hospital was phase 3, and that says 2040. Is that still like projected to be that long?
That's an estimate.
Okay.
When we were doing the traffic study, we kind of had to put numbers to it,
Right.
and that was our estimate, but in talks with Prisma, there's really no plan yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions for the applicant? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, at this time for this agenda item, I'm going to open the floor for public comment. Seeing none, I'm going to close the floor to public comment. We're going to hear staff's recommendation.
So staff has reviewed the final development plan and has reviewed it against our standing land development regulations, our zoning ordinance, as well as the statement of intent and the concept plan provided because it is an FRD. And looking at all of those, staff does find that it is meeting all of the regulations and it meets the intent that was given when it was approved as an FRD.
Okay. Any questions for staff here? Further questions, shall I say? Jason, was there anything that changed from the original approved preliminary development plan that we reviewed several months ago?
So that was a concept plan that you reviewed. And you kind of see, there's the concept plan. Here's what we're looking at. It's almost identical.
Okay. Was there anything else that you are concerned about for this specific project?
There's not.
Okay. Anything further from the commission? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion that the planning commission approve the final development plan for SP-2025-05 Golden Strip Medical Park?
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor by uplifting of hand? All those opposed? Ayes have it. Next item on the agenda tonight is SP-2025-06 Sanctuary at Quail Run. We'll hear from staff.
Went a little too far. Okay. So what's before you here is a preliminary plat, which comes before the, was, we're having some technical issues this evening.
Take your time.
There we go. This is located up on the screen. It's right outside Quail Run, for Quail Run Circle and North Main Street, or 14. It's 2 parcels of land, currently zoned R15. Most of the surrounding residential on that side of 14 is the R15 designation. And it's before you tonight for an approval, so they can move forward with staff being able to approve the preliminary plat to turn into a final plat.
Any questions from the commission to staff? I have one, correct me if I'm wrong, this is currently zoned R15 residential, correct?
That is correct.
This is not changing
It is not.
the residential zoning? Okay,
No, this is not a rezoning.
okay. Any other questions? All right, we'll hear from our applicant, representative of Blackstone Development.
My name is Waverly Wilkes. I work for Gray Engineering, so I am not technically the applicant, but I am his representative as he cannot be here tonight. I do have a couple, I don't know how large your copies are, 11 by 17s if you would like one, that are look pretty and all of that good stuff. But if y'all are good, either pass those to me.
Can I ask you to pause for just a second? Is this microphone on?
It's supposed to be.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Is this better? Oh,
Yeah.
we got it.
Where they at nowadays? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got it.
yep.
Perfect.
Thank you.
My name is Waverly Wilkes. I do work for Gray Engineering. It's at 132 Pilgrim Road. As it was mentioned, this is a R15 subdivision proposal. We have got the name approved, the Sanctuary at Quail Run. The developer took great care in looking at these 2 parcels, looking at the surrounding area. Of course, the neighborhood that is behind us took great care in that, and he did kind of want to play off that best he could. So our road names and subdivision names are all very fitting of Quail Run in itself. This proposed plan does fit in with the Fountain Inn Envision plan for low to medium density residential. Around 2 to 4 units per acre is the target goal in that plan. Our proposal in front of you is at 1.91 units per acre. In total, the site is just under 11 acres at 10.98, and we do have 21 lots shown on the plan. We are proposing a conventional subdivision, so not trying to open space or anything like that. So all of the lots do meet the minimum 15,000 square foot lot requirement. Not shown on this plan, but somewhat on the grading plan. The developer notes that these are larger lots, therefore larger homes would be warranted of a higher quality and higher price point. So for instance, when we are looking at this project, the house pad itself ranges anywhere from 65 to 80 foot in width and 80 foot in depth, just to give a rough idea of what that house footprint may look like. Noting the beautiful landscape that is actually out on the main road there, along Quail Run, we did provide a 20-foot landscape buffer. That's that green strip you see on the plan. That is HOA maintained property, so not on the lots. Those residents would not necessarily go cut anything down. But we did provide that landscape buffer, not only to provide landscaping, but to protect the existing trees that are running along that road there. We have no intention of grading, impacting those trees. I do believe there are 2 trees that are located in where our proposed entrance is. So that would be the only impact there. So there is no desire to impact that. The signs, There's some utilities up front, none of that would be impacted at all. Water service would be provided along Quail Run, and then sewer is off towards the back, towards the rear detention pond is how we would access sewer. And of course, there would not be access onto 14. That's not really a safe place to put an entrance for a new development there. I do know on GIS, and I think maybe on one of the pictures, it may have shown a blue line stream. We have already had a wetland consultant go out to the site and make sure that that is in fact not a wetland. There is a DOT cross pipe that goes under the road there, and we'll be rerouting that around it, but no wetland impact, nothing like that. I am happy to answer any additional questions that you have. Roughly in green, that's just over 2 acres of open space that'll be maintained by the HOA, which is about 19% of the site. Again, there's not a requirement for that, but we did want to make sure that was provided, and adequate stormwater will be provided for the site. There's a bit of a break point grading wise. So all of that will be handled so there's no downstream flooding.
Any questions for our applicant or for representation of our applicant?
I just had a couple quick questions,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman. What is the right-of-way and pavement width on the street there?
Give me just a quick second.
I didn't.
On the proposed
Yes, on the proposed
asphalt,
street.
that is a 26, or it's actually a 24-foot wide edge of asphalt to edge of asphalt, if you include the face of curb, 26 foot, and then a 44-foot wide right-of-way.
Okay, that's,
Is it rolled curb?
Yes, that would be the intention.
okay. And then I just would like to say I appreciate you put in cul-de-sacs
Oh,
instead of hammerhead turnarounds.
I know those are preferred normally by the fire marshal, so.
Yes, and the DPW and all the delivery guys too. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
I have a couple questions for you
Okay.
and a couple of observations.
Mm-hmm.
One, with the landscape buffer that you're providing along Quail Run Circle.
Yes.
When you do go to grade, is there going to be landscape fencing put up during that grade process to protect those trees from the grade process?
Yes, as a part of when we go to do the full landscape plan and tree preservation plan, root protection zones will be included in that.
Okay.
With the correct boundary, and it's normally an orange fencing that helps to protect that.
Okay. Second question. Since you've named this the sanctuary at Quail Run, I think it would be preferential when you go to do a sign for this neighborhood that you try to mimic as closely as possible the sign for Quail Run.
Okay.
I don't see the need in calling something after a neighborhood that has one sign and then pulling it in another neighborhood that looks, a sign that looks completely different than what you just turned into.
Okay.
So I think as a point, I would make it to see if you say materials, maybe same structure.
Okay.
Doesn't have to mimic, but it would be nice to, so it's not as jarring as you turn into, from Quail Run Circle into this neighborhood.
Yep, absolutely.
Next question. With the border of this neighborhood, I would say from Main Street all the way back to the border of the homes in Quail Run, we have a blue shaded line here. It says it's a fence. Are y'all putting a fence around this whole property?
I want to make sure I know
There-
what.
Maybe I'm misreading the print, but on that blue shaded line, it said something about a 6-foot wood fence.
There are several wood fences on the properties adjacent to us.
Okay.
So on, for instance, and I could give you exact tax map numbers, I don't know how beneficial that would be. So say behind lots 5 and 6, for instance, there is a metal fence on the property behind us.
Oh, I see what where
Yep.
that's pointing at now. Okay.
So there's a couple different fences that you'll see. We are not proposing to put a fence other than what these residents want to do.
What is that grade fall off on lots 5, 6, and 7?
Yep.
I know that there's a swell that goes down on that property back there. How bad is the grade going to be on those lots?
Actually, the grading for this wasn't too terrible. So you said for lots 5 and 6.
I would say that whole left-hand side all the way to you hit roughly lot 9.
Okay. So for instance, lots 4 through 6, and I can give you this grading plan actually if that would be helpful. We're proposing, say the lots are around an 843 contour elevation, and there would be less than a 6-foot kind of drop towards the back slope there. And then it actually increases quite substantially as far as the separation goes between lots 7, 8, and 9. We've got a fairly large, almost 30-foot, essentially no-grade area that kind of separates those two, just based on storm drainage, how we need to move water from that's about where the break line is, how I need to move water. So lots 6, 7, and 8, it kind of pies out in a sense, and there's a no-grade area there. It's essentially flat.
On that front corner with that front detention pond, there's quite a bit of trees that exist there, as well as, I would assume that it's Fountain and Natural Gas. There's gas lines that are up there on the front. Are you rerouting? Are those gas lines being rerouted?
So all our planned work up there at the front is that discharge pipe I mentioned coming from the DOT.
Yep.
We're just routing that around the cul-de-sac essentially. So we actually have a little easement shown. That is the only work being proposed there. And the only disturbance of those trees or any land up there will only be for the installation of that pipe.
Of that pipe? So
Yes.
the rest of the trees that are in that cluster
They're
will stay
staying.
intact?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Last question. What kind of screening are you providing on the backside of the lots that abut to the lots in Quail Run?
We do not have anything specifically proposed, but the developer is not against adding anything additional.
Okay. I would make a strong suggestion that as much as he can work with the residents that abut lots
15.
14 and 15, it would show great for him to try to work as well as he can to do whatever screening is necessary for those lots. I mean, how many trees is going to go down on that backside? Is it going to, are we going to just take them all up to property line, or?
So we would be able, looking at the grading plan, we've kind of preliminary graded it. We can definitely move in those grades to kind of do a line of those protected trees.
Protected
Because there
trees,
are,
okay.
we've done a tree survey of the whole property, so there is a ton of trees. We can go in and see what we can save where, and then clean up the underbrush, of course.
Okay.
And so I think we can definitely do that. And with the size of those lots, if it helped to pull that property line off, we could do that and still meet square footage.
Has
if
he
we had to.
interfaced with those residents there at all?
So he has reached out to the HOA. He had a very productive conversation, I believe, with the HOA president. If it was someone else on the board, I do apologize. But he did talk with them. He did offer to have a community meeting if they so desired. He didn't hear anything back against that. From his conversations, initially, he did not expect too much pushback other than, say, curiosity about what was going on and concern for it being a townhome or apartment development. I think that may have been a rumor going around.
Okay. I think one of my last questions for now that I can remember, I don't see street names here.
I would say we do, so they did get approved, and then I don't think they made it on the plan. I can share the 3 with you that were selected and confirmed by Greenville County. It was Hummingbird Way, Woodpecker Lane, and Warbler Place.
Okay. Have these been approved through E911?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And then I saw only one mailbox cluster, correct?
Correct.
And that's on the far
In the
cul-de-sac?
back.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
What about sidewalks for the community?
Yes.
On the outside?
Yes.
I was actually looking at that as we came in. There are currently no sidewalks along Quail Run Circle. We do have sidewalks internal to it. Again, our preference was to preserve those trees that are currently on Quail Run.
Very fair.
So there wasn't a great spot to put
put
something
sidewalk.
like that.
I would
Yeah.
agree. Now, you said, is it sidewalks on both sides throughout the neighborhood, or
We-
just one?
Just one side, I believe.
Which side? The closest to Quail Run or furthest from Quail Run Circle?
So it is the closest to Quail Run Circle.
Okay.
And that may have been an addition after we submitted. But we are proposing them kind of on the side closest to Quail Run Circle from cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac.
Okay.
I think the sidewalks should be added. As many people as go up and down that street and walk and run. This is a pretty place where people walk and run, like myself. But if traffic's going to be coming in, I would like to see sidewalks all the way down. It's,
Would you prefer that to be within the right-of-way or outside of the right-of-way? I know it gets a little sticky sometimes.
I think usually it has to be inside the right-of-way, doesn't it?
It normally does, and I do run out of room to
the 30
accomplish
foot,
that
right.
here.
If I could have a point of order really quick. Jason?
I do need a couple things clarified for the record. State law does require planning commission to approve those street names. Since they were not on this plat, can you kind of a little clearly indicate which roads are gonna go with which name? So that can be part of the record?
Yep, absolutely. I don't want to misspeak and call them the wrong thing, because I will do that. So when the entrance road there, we would call Woodpecker Lane, excuse me. To the left, coming in that cul-de-sac, would be Hummingbird Way. So that would be the cul-de-sac closest to 14, and Warbler Place would be to the right as you enter, going back towards the existing subdivision.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying
Yep.
that. I have an additional comment, Chairman.
Yes, sir, Jason?
Regarding sidewalks, it is a requirement with the zoning ordinance to have those sidewalks on the main road. The only way to have that waived is by the planning commission waiving that. So that is something that if they're not gonna be there, that decision would have to be made preferably tonight, otherwise we'll have to hold another meeting. But also be mindful, if those sidewalks are gonna be along Quail Run, is it gonna disturb the trees and landscaping that are existing?
Is it possible that they put it on the other side of the road?
We can't
There's trees on
require it
both
because they do
sides.
not control it.
For right now, are there any other questions for our
I
applicant?
have a question about the mailboxes.
Mm-hmm.
Is there gonna be a place for people to park when they get out to check their mailbox?
We did not propose it just due to the number of lots. If that's something that we need to do, we can add a parking pull-off if needed.
I would just say I've seen in several neighborhoods that people are just parking in the street, or they're making like huge mud puddles because they're pulling off in the grass. My
Gotcha.
parents live in a neighborhood that had to put a sign out that says, please don't pull in the grass, because they've just like destroyed it. Because
I gotcha.
on the way home from work, you don't walk all the way, like if you live way down on 14, you're not gonna walk all the way to the back. to
Not in
get
this
your
heat.
mail. So I think there needs to be somewhere to pull in to get your mail.
Okay, we can do that. We can add that.
Any further questions for our applicant? Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Absolutely,
We
thank
may
you.
have, I may have more questions later, so just be aware. I just.
No problem.
Not at the moment. All right, at this point, we're going to open this agenda item open for public comment. Remember, as you come to the podium, please state your name and your address, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Just however you want to line up. I'm not going to control.
Hello, my name is Kelly Olson, 311 Quail Run Circle. First, I want to thank you guys for having this meeting. While we do have a small HOA, it is a voluntary HOA, so nobody speaks for the entire community. At 311, we have concerns. When we moved in, we were told that land was contaminated. We understand there was a Phase 1 soil. We are very interested in those results, how it was conducted. We want to know about the EPA, DHEC, the water contaminations. So we would like to have a lot of access to those records. Also, a environmental impact. While she was very kind to talk about preserving our trees on the entrance, I failed to mention the abundance of trees that are going to be cut down to put this neighborhood in, let alone the buffer at the end, which we were told was going to be 10 feet. Also, a traffic study. It is already difficult at best with pedestrians coming in and out, running in and out, animals, and then the wildlife. So anytime that we've had property built within Quail Run, we get an uptick. We have family of deer. We have owls. We even have, unfortunately, the great snakes. And so when land is disturbed, we have a lot of safety concerns that come up with copperheads, children being out, and we have a lot of animals that have been bit when it comes to things of that nature. So I want to put out there traffic studies, working on increased congestion safety issues, a plan for that. The wildlife, the tree removal, stormwater runoff, we have a big problem with that already within the community without adding any additional disturbance. The soil management, the migration plan, the soil, if there is a Phase 2, a Phase 3, we would like that information. We would like to know how, on the grid, how far, where they dug, if there's going to be repeat, and where that soil will actually be removed to. since we are disrupting that. So I do have formal to provide. I didn't bring enough for everybody. I didn't know how many people would be here, but I appreciate everybody taking the time to listen.
Thank you. Next up.
Good evening. Once again, thank you for this. We appreciate it. Glad you're listening to us. My name is Tom Dodd. My wife and I live at 106 Village Vista Drive. And we have not been given as much information as we would like. But looking at the image that was up there, my understanding was on the diagonal was Highway 14, then Quail Run going in. Proposed development at the end would be down at the Quail Run HOA and property and homes. The backside on the diagonal coming down is actually Village Vista. And where we are now, the back of our yard goes up to that adjacent property. And as the lady mentioned, there's so many trees there, so many animals are going to be displaced. Where they're going, God only knows. Not only from being concerned about birds, but snakes coming out, raccoons coming out, and all that. And I would like to know if there's going to be a buffer at the end down toward Quail Run. What about Village Vista? Is there going to be a buffer there with trees left? It's only right that you do that all around where there's homes. On the street, great, they plan on leaving the trees there. That's wonderful. I'm glad. It's a beautiful lane. But you need to leave them all the way around. And when the lady was talking about soil removal, we all know they take the topsoil and sell it and backfill it with clay. This is normal practice. That's going to be a terrible mess for a lot of people in Quail Run and Village Vista. So we would like to get some assurances about how they're going about it, how it will impact us. And like the lady said, we thought the land was contaminated, could not be built on or used for anything other than what's going on right now. Grass, trees, and animals. So if we could get some more information about that, I would really appreciate it. And I don't know, Zach Bachman is our HOA head. He has not put out anything to us that anyone has contacted him about any impacts or plans or anything else. So if we could get some more information, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Riddle. I live at 600 Gulliver Street in Fountain Inn. The young lady did a great job in her presentation, and I would just like to say that my wife and I, because Lawrence County goes through two counties, but Fountain Inn is in two counties. Our property is right on the line. We're not going to be directly impacted by this, but as you well know, many of you know that we're very involved in developing, not in developing, but anti-development. My wife and I are board members of the Lawrence County Citizens for Quality Rural Living. We're very involved in Lawrence County, and this is going to sound harsh, but I'm just going to say it. Our experience, no experience with this developer, but our experience in Lawrence County is that developers will tell you anything to get what they want. They will say whatever needs to be said to get it approved. So take that into consideration, please. Also, in the Envision Comprehensive Plan, in the first opening paragraph, it says that the most important thing is to maintain a small town atmosphere for our town. Well, we've been here many, many years, and the traffic has dramatically increased, as you all know. More homes, more cars, more people. At what point is enough enough?
Next up.
I'm Mike Tate. I live at 422 Quail Run Circle. And I have an observation about the contamination that's on that land. We moved there in 1984. And when I was a teenager, there was a filling station on the entrance, somewhere around the entrance of Quail Run. The Quail Run didn't exist at that time. And it was there for years and years. When we moved in to Quail Run, my children, of course, played in those woods back behind my house. And that filling station had been dumping oil cans, oil, batteries, tires, you name it, that came from a filling station. They were dumping that for years. And it's still out there. You can go into the woods behind my house and see old tires, oil cans, batteries, or whatever. They also buried some car parts back there. And in one place, I got a chrome bumper sticking up. And when the sun's just right, you can see the sun glinting off that chrome bumper. So I want to make you aware that that land is contaminated, and it's going to take some work to get that out. Now, I don't know how the land up front all of a sudden got so good when for 40 or 50 years it was contaminated. I watched EPA go out there and test the water several times while we've been living there. They had boreholes out there, and I think the guy that does the bush hogging cut all the boreholes down. They were about that high and covered in a wood box with a lock on it. They don't exist anymore, so I'm still concerned about contamination. And if they start raising red dust in that front part of the property, and it is contaminated, it's going to get all over my house, it's going to get in my pool, because the prevailing winds run from Main Street through those woods to my house. And when they built the other neighborhood, my pool stayed full of red dust constantly.
30 seconds.
Okay, I'm done.
Next up.
Thank you for having this meeting. My name is Mike Batchelor. I live at 104 Village Vista Drive. And the other development is really well here tonight, and we appreciate all that. But most of the discussion tonight, especially from the construction company, was concerned with Quail Run. And, you know, we have a lot of problems on Village Vista Drive because when the rain comes, it comes down our backyard, we got a little hill back there. I had to put a dry creek in because it was killing the grass. And I honestly think it turns into a trout river when we get rain. I know there's a 10-foot buffer up there, but if they're going to be starting to grade stuff, that water's just coming right into my backyard. And I don't think that that's right, especially after I've learned tonight how contaminated that property is. So I'd just like to have the board and the company take a little consideration for the people that live on Village Vista Drive and keep us informed with all this stuff. Thank you so much.
Next up.
So I'm Pam Riddle, 600 Gulliver Street, and my concern is trees within the development. I mean, we have been following developments for a long time, y'all know that. And they come in and clear everything out and promise, you know, they're gonna send the water this way and that way. You can't really control water. We have seen neighboring homes, yards destroyed by water, and they've got up the fencing and the whatever, and it doesn't work. Water is strong, it's powerful. And So my question would be, are they gonna come in and, yeah, they're leaving the buffers, and that's nice, that's great. The more natural habitat you can leave, the better for everybody, including the animals. And I know several people have mentioned animals, and that's a real problem. You know, we're taking all of their habitat from everywhere, every direction, every little spot we can take. And, you know, they don't have anywhere to go, and more dead animals on the road. Why? Because they have nowhere to go. They're searching. But is there a requirement of certain size trees to have to be left? I mean, over the, you know, different meetings we've been to, there has been talk of larger trees have to be left. You know, I understand the little scrubby stuff that's, you know, okay, but I think trees need to be left. If you look at all these new developments, they've got these little store-bought trees about as big around as my wrist that are worthless, you know, in the long run. They're not, it's going to take years upon years to get trees the sizes of what they're cutting down. And, you know, a 10-foot buffer, 20-foot buffer, that's really nothing. That's not really much in the scheme of things. We've dealt with developments that have 30-foot buffers, and one, the vast majority have not followed through with the type of buffer they've said they were going to have. So I don't know. You know, they need to be held accountable. Somebody needs to follow up and make sure they do what they say they're going to do, because we see it all the time. Promise the world, and the word intention. Our intention is, well, intention isn't a guarantee. You can have good intent all day but not follow through on it. So we need to hold developers accountable, and we need to be respectful of the people who came here years ago and have lived here for a long time. You know, we're forgetting them. We're just wanting the new. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up.
Hi, Dustin Carew, 424 Quail Run Circle. Yeah, concerns about the chemical spill. I think it's not only the gas station, but also the B Unit Corp spill. I'm not sure what it is, but looking on the EPA website, in 2023, it was up for a 5-year review. So I'm not sure if it's the same one, but I believe it is, because I think water contamination runs from that area down to the location we're talking about. Also, I'd like to talk about the buffer. Looking at this proposed plan, my property backs up to this, I think it's lots 14 and 15. I've walked my property line, and several of the trees that are in my property were marked, from what I can tell. So I'm wondering if this buffer is actually just the distance from our fence to their property, which is actually my property. Our fence line is not the actual property line. Our property lines are 25 foot into the woods, about, roughly. And every tree is marked in that whole wood line, every single tree. Trees that go right up to our road, it's all marked. So I don't believe that any of them are going to really be left, or there is going to be a buffer. Not only that, the slope and gradient of that land, like they said in Vista, it slopes towards them, slopes very heavily towards us. The chemical thing, rainwater, any of that, it's all going to come down to us. Also, I'd like to know if there is going to be any additional testing of the soil, how deep the retention ponds are going to be, because obviously if testing is going to be done, it needs to be done to whatever depth of terraforming on this property is going to be. So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Thank you. Next up.
William Zimmerman, 202 Quail Run Circle. Got two questions. One, so I'm the third house in Quail Run, and the catch basin at the corner of my property just dumps into my yard. I've dealt with it by trying to dig a trench to get it to go to the back of the yard where there's like a little creek back there. But all the water from up the road in Quail Run comes down that hill, hits that catch basin and goes into my yard. So we have quite the river in between my house and the neighbors. Will there be more water being dumped onto the road that's going to find its way down to our property is my question. The other question I have is, what about the sign? The Quail Run sign is out by the main road, and now you're putting this other subdivision there. Are we going to have to move our sign, or how? That's going to be weird.
Your sign can stay in place for that one. The normal Quail Run sign will be able to stay. It won't be moved.
So then there'll be another sign for that subdivision? Isn't
sir.
that confusing?
Could be.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Next person up.
Thank you for meeting with us tonight. I'm Heather Carew. I live at 424 Quail Run Circle, and I've actually grew up here, and I'm an avid runner, and I am concerned about the road meeting into our road that comes down Quail Run. Just because, growing up here, I would run to Quail Run because it was so nice to run through the neighborhood, but traffic is increasing. High school students, that's where they still run. The cross-country team runs through our neighborhood. And I'm really concerned about, just the traffic flow. Having another neighborhood feeding in, it could cause some major issues and things that, that's one of my main concerns is about that, as well as the contamination site. When we moved in and when we bought our home, we signed a paper saying that there would be no development on that lot because of the contaminations. I'm also a cancer survivor of 5 years, and having lymphoma, which is a chemical or an exposure type cancer, it does concern me. I have small children. The water flowing from that property, if it is contaminated, who will pay the price? It will be us, my children, and I really would like to see the data saying that that property and that soil is safe to dig in. So, thank you.
Next person.
I'm Amy Cox. I live at 426 Quail Run Circle. This guy, those people we're the three who are bumped right up against the building. To address the contamination, I would like to see written proof of exactly if it's been cleared, all the data, as Heather said. There's been other such sites that were cleared in the past. I'm not talking about just here, nationwide. And later it came up with problems with cancer and stuff, and there was still contamination there. So I'm also a cancer survivor of 11 years. By the grace of God, I hope I don't visit that again, but I sure don't want it to be because contamination that could have been prevented. So I would like to see written data about that. I also worry about the runoff down into our property because I get everybody else's. I'm the first one in. I get everybody else's down the way. I would like to not see it come down the back of me too. I would also like to request of the developer, the builder, that he meets with us as a whole of Quail Run or with the three of us that it directly affects, because as one resident said, intention. I don't want to know just intention. I want to see proof of what exactly is going to happen, and if he doesn't honor his intentions, then that we have the right to speak to him about that. I also know that, all right, it's my understanding that when there's property adjoining, there has to be a buffer between the property lines. I've heard that the most required is 10 feet. If this goes through, we have to deal with something like that. I would like to see a lot more to protect our properties.
Thank you. Next person up.
Good evening. My name is Ken Anderson. I live at 303 Quail Run Circle. Been here almost 6 years now, and I love the subdivision. It's a great place to live, and looking at this development and listening to all my neighbors and everybody, one of the things I noticed, and too bad we can't get the thing back up on the screens, but the street is just two cul-de-sacs. And then you got one entrance coming into Quail Run Circle, and Quail Run Circle only has one way in and out. So my biggest thought and concern is, where do all these people go, and how do we get out of there in case of an emergency? And how do the fire trucks and the paramedics and all the emergency responders, how do they handle this flow when there's no place for anybody to get out of there? For example, when Helene hit last year, a big tree went down right across Quail Run Circle. My understanding is a couple of the neighbors went over and cut it up enough to get it off of the street. But what if those men weren't available, and how soon can somebody get out to fix that, get rid of the tree, in case somebody was having a heart attack or needed an emergency vehicle to come into the subdivision? So I think the Plan Commission should take a hard look at how that area is kind of fenced in. You're kind of boxed everybody in there, and you're going to have 21 more homes, so you're going to have 42 more cars at least driving in and out of those streets. So I think, to me, that's a big concern, and how we get people in and out of there safely, and especially in a case of an emergency. And God help us, we don't have another Helene, but we very well could. So, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person up.
Good evening. My name is Charlene Bricker, and I live at 210 Quail Run. I think there's a lot of discussion about the entrance placement, and that is a huge concern for all of us. But if the entrance can't be redesigned to come out on Main Street, is there any effort to provide for the street that's there? Meaning, our streets are crumbling in our neighborhood. In places where the water runoff that you've heard so many neighbors talk about, it's impacted these streets, and they are crumbling in places. So what is the board looking at when they're looking at the development and how that's going to impact the street that's there? You know, will there be any work done to maintain that, and who's responsible for that? I think the other thing in my mind is the timeline. We're all talking about this, but what's the timeline for this project? You know, when are they looking to start, and when are they hoping to have this finished? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further?
Hi, my name's Robert Delgado. I live at 421 Quail Run Circle. Basically, it's the first house on the corner when you get down there. I love Quail Run Circle. I moved up here to Fountain Inn back in 2000, moved to Quail Run in 2004. And you know, I've always had great pride and great times. And we used to always decorate and have a wonderful feeling, and it's nice to have the trick-or-treaters and Halloween and all that. And And so you all, if you've been trick or treating down there, you'd know my house because it had all the inflatables and other graveyards and stuff like that in it. Now, and we also decorated well for Christmas. Having said all that, one year I had an inflatable deer, and it was a big inflatable deer. Well, that deer got attacked by a buck, okay? And that buck was kind of jealous that there's a bigger deer. So I was kind of excited about, hey, I got deer in my front yard. I have deer that live in my front yard. That's one of their primary feeding locations. And I like that, okay? And I don't mind driving down that hill late at night, taking my time just so I could count how many deer I see. And I see families and herds of deer. One time I had video of close to 12 deer jumping across the street. Okay, so my concern, in addition to all these other wonderful reasons, is also the wildlife, the deer, and all the other animals that we have. At one time I had an owl in my backyard. That was really cool. And I'm concerned that with this development, all that's going away. And that's one of the reasons why people love to come to Fountain Inn, because it's still country, if you will, but yet we're in the city. It's a great opportunity for people to be close to things and see nature, which is going to disappear with all this development. And I agree that there's, room for it, but we're also talking about a buffer. Okay, right now there's an open field, then you have a lot of trees, then you have Quail Run Circle. To me, the buffer should be that lot of trees that's already there and should be untouched. Okay, so that's just my opinion, but I just want to make sure y'all are thinking about the deer and the other wildlife that we appreciate there in Quail Run Circle. Thank you.
Anyone further?
Good afternoon. I'm Margie Dodd. I live in 106 Village Vista, and I wanted to represent our neighborhood a little more. I see a lot of people from Quail Run, and I love that strip going down that road, and I can't imagine, not having that view as it is now. But anyway, our lot goes up the hill, and we own the hill up to a certain point, and there's some nice big trees back there, animals coming up and everything. But there's one huge oak tree right there. And they have also tagged some trees for removal that actually, I'd say, I don't know, when you say a person owns a tree, if I own this much of the root system, do I own part of that tree? Because they've come in there and they're clearing it up. And I don't know the process on how the planning committee works, but I do know that I felt like I wanted to say something about a buffering. They show it for Quail Run, but they don't show it for our subdivision. And I want to see that on the paper, and also because we go up the hill and then it's flat so they can't grade any more out of there, or they're going to destroy the few big trees that we have on our property that we own. So that was the one point I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person.
Hi, I'm Colleen O'Hara. I live at 202 Quail Run Trail. Everybody's mentioned mostly everything, but I did want to bring up again the traffic situation. It's gotten a lot busier on Main Street, and if there's going to put some kind of turning lane there, and I would like to see it where it could come off Main Street, but I know that's not proposed. And then having a separate subdivision right there at the front, it's like they've all said, it's been nice and quiet, and more traffic is a big concern. So I just wanted to bring up the traffic situation in addition to everything else everyone else has said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Debbie Batchelor. I'm at 104 Village Vista Drive. I mirror the concerns that everybody has raised here. I'm standing up to talk to you about how this process works. To my knowledge, there was no notification to any of the homeowners on Village Vista Drive of this meeting, of what the plans for that development were. What is the process by which you and the developer notify homeowners that may be impacted by what you're discussing at meetings when there is no notice to those homeowners that there is a meeting. There's something wrong with that. I'd like to see it corrected.
Mr. Chairman.
I got it. I'll be glad to stick around afterwards, and I'll walk you through that process.
Okay.
Anyone further?
Good evening, everybody. Steve Allen, 304 Quail Run. We've been in the neighborhood quite a number of years now. Some of the stuff that I'd like to talk about would be retention ponds, especially the one closest to where our neighborhood really gets started. I'd like to see elevation drawings, shows the height of that of the retention pond back there. When you come down that street, it's the lowest point of that property. The elevations, if you look at the topo map on that, and the elevation gain you get from those upper lots to the retention pond is quite significant. It's the steepest portion of that lot. It's a great place for a retention pond because it's already dug. Build a giant wall right along Quail Run, and that's where all the water gathers up. What's the overflow of that? If it fills up, where does it go? It's going to go in the creek right across the street, drain right behind my house and everybody else that lives on that side of the road, along with any of the debris that might happen and accumulate during massive rainstorms. Safety for that, what about our kids? Is it going to be maintained, taken care of? Does it hold water? Does it drain water? I don't know those questions, for sure what that's going to look like, but kids up there, if they're goofing around like they always do in the woods up there, what's going to happen to that from a safety concern of all the kids in the neighborhood that love the woods and like to play up there. So curious on safety concerns for that. Brought up traffic turn lane off Main Street. It's already congested. When police pull people over, they'll pull right in the front of our neighborhood. You can't get in or out. You're trying to get around. You're trying to get out. Now you're going to add more homes to it. Don't know where that looks. There's not a lot of room short of widening the road or taking some out of the development. That kind of, most of it right there. Obviously the contamination, I'd love more information as well, documentation of that, see where that goes. With that, I thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Walt Tanner, 326 Quail Run Circle, and thank you guys for your time and your patience. I've represented our ward for several years in planning commission, so I know the process and I know the questions. I know y'all are about to close this. I just want to say this before we close this. The sidewalk, what happens, I know the sidewalks are a big deal because when I was on planning commission, sidewalks cause all kind of issues. I would love a sidewalk going up and down that hill, but also I know the trees are a beautiful part of what we do, the crepe myrtles that are there. So it's like either. So take that in consideration. Like I said, they're supposed to be there no matter what. That's a fountain end deal. So they've got to decide whether they keep that ordinance and have to cut down all the trees, or whether they give it a bypass out of that. So just as you think about that, I'm not going to be able to say it once y'all start talking about it. But taking that consideration or table in for later, y'all have a lot to talk about. Thank you for my neighbors who shared so much just about Quail Run and their love for Quail Run and for Fountain Inn. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Anyone further?
Hello, appreciate you allowing us to come up and voice our concerns. Most everything that was mentioned has well been talked over, and hope you all take it to heart and understand the feelings that the community has towards this. There were some touches on the fact that area is a drain field for the accident that was at Wilson. And most of you probably know about that. And that kept that property, that field, from ever being developed. What happened all of a sudden that cause that not to be presenting a carcinogen, particularly after the people go in there and start turning up dirt. That's a concern to me. And what's been done, has there been studies done? What are the results of those? And if not, what are you going to do? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further? Last call. Seeing none, we'll hear staff's recommendation. We'll close public comment, see staff's recommendation.
I guess not.
Thank you, Chairman. So as you're aware, it's staff's responsibility to review these plans against our zoning regulations and our land development regulations. Looking at what's been proposed, it does meet the minimum regulations, and some of it exceeds, of what we require for a preliminary plat and for a subdivision of this nature.
All right, thank you. All right, commission. Questions?
Mr. Chair, could I just address some of the concerns we've heard here tonight? Just
How about it?
my own personal opinion.
How about it?
I'm trying to put them in order here. Jason, are those streets down there, are they townways or are they stateways?
Are you talking about like Quail Run?
Yes.
It's a city-owned road.
Okay, so as far as the streets are concerned, that'd have to be the city. We can't do any, the planning commission doesn't do anything with those. Let me see here. As far as the buffering, I think they've, again, this is a preliminary plan, but I think they've done a fairly decent job of trying to maintain some buffering. As far as the traffic, I hate to say it, but a 21-home subdivision is not that big a deal in this neighborhood, at least in my opinion, from my experience. As far as the drainage goes, and Jason, you can correct me if I'm wrong, when you do a plan like this, the idea is that the drainage before the construction has to be the same or less than the drainage after construction. Is that pretty much the way you put it, Jason?
Yeah, the discharge has to be the same or less.
Right. So, and a lot of times it gets better. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be the case here. I drove out there today, and I totally understand what you folks are saying, because I drove down, I drove around the neighborhood. I understand that. But a lot of times it can be made better. But, civil engineers are pretty good. They all have to put their name to these plans, and there will be a drainage study, I take it, Jason? Is that correct?
Yeah, they'll have to go through the Land Development Division of Greenville County for
Right.
stormwater. So
Right.
yeah, that'll be a full review on it.
Yeah. So these guys are good at what they do, so I'm not totally worried about the drainage. The one thing I had never heard of is this contaminated soil stuff. That's the one thing that really concerns me. Other than that, that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else before I speak? Anybody else have any questions, anything that needs to be addressed?
You go first.
You want me to go first? Okay, fantastic. Jason, do you have information from the last EPA test that was done? Do you have access to this information?
Give me just 1 second here. I want to make sure I get your notes. I do not have it in my possession, but speaking with the developer or the applicant, phase one was conducted and the site was found clean.
Have you seen this phase one?
I have not, but it would be a requirement before we did any permitting.
Who signs off on the study? When it comes to you, just because someone went and did a study doesn't necessarily mean that it's valid. Is there any other signatures has to be signed off? Does Greenville County have to sign off on the study? Is there anyone else that has to go through the approval process for the site?
No, it's a professional, certified professional that does these studies. And so just like an engineer or an architect, they are a professional engineer, professional at their jobs.
But no one else has to review, besides us seeing.
We would review the study and see what was concluded, any recommendations for remediation, those type of things.
Are there any other phases to this study?
I don't know that. I can't answer that one.
Are there any other phases hold on just a second. Are there any other phases to this study?
It's to just affect phase one's clean, and there are wells that have been looked at by this company for 20 years. It's called BLE. They've been doing this forever. So there's no need for a phase two.
Can you answer that for me too, please?
So, he's also with the development team.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I did not know that. That's my fault.
So typically, just in general, for the sake of this, if something does come up with a phase one study,
They would require-
that does initiate a phase two, and subsequent studies afterwards.
Is this information that BLE publishes? Is this published information by BLE?
Not publicly, if we need to provide this study to planning commission and city staff, we're more than happy to do so.
City staff, most 100% definitely.
We can get that to them as early as tomorrow.
Thank you. I have a couple more questions, Jason. Well, this is technically a double-edged question. I didn't remember a while ago, but these water retention ponds, the city does require screening around these water retention ponds. Besides the normal screening, is there anything else that you're going to provide around these water retention ponds? Landscape? I don't remember which gentleman it was, brought up a fantastic question. That bottom detention pond is on the deepest slope of that property. Is it going to be bricked up? What's the plan for that?
There's no intention for there to be a wall of any sort used in that pond. It's currently graded in, an earthen berm, is what it is planned to be, and will meet any landscaping requirements that the city does have.
And will it be fenced in?
That will be fenced, yes. And correct me if I'm wrong, it lists on the drawing, these are detention ponds, not retention ponds, correct?
So as of right now, we try to design everything as a detention.
Detention.
To meet Greenville County water quality requirements.
Okay.
Sometimes during the design process, they do need to change.
To a retention, okay. Addressing the buffering for, I think the neighborhood, I heard Village Vista, the one on the opposite side. I'm looking at these property lines, I'm kind of in agreement, tree line. When y'all mark these trees, are they marked for removal, or they marked for the ones that are staying in place?
The trees have not been decided what is removed or staying. So they were marked just for inventory purposes only.
Okay.
Nothing is determined one way or the other. They mark them in the field, they pick them up via survey. I have a tree survey I can come bring you right now where these trees are located, stuff that is, say, iffy. For instance, I know if you were maybe straddle a property line, all of that is closely looked at when we start getting into the full grading and tree protection plan.
What would you say on that backside property line bordering Village Vista? I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a thick tree line that's there, but it's a relatively thin tree line. I mean, how much are we keeping on that backside of that?
I'd say our goal is to keep and preserve the larger trees where we can as far as the grading plan. In instances where we just physically have to grade, whether it's to get in a swale, to pull the water off, those trees would have to go.
As well with Quail Run, we've got to do as good of a job as we can on this backside with Village Vista on retaining as many trees as we can, because I know the hill, I've seen the hill, I've driven through the neighborhood multiple times, and I know the hill that they're talking about. And there are very few select that borders that, and removing any of them is, one, going to disrupt the soil that's currently there and could cause those trees to come the other way down into Village Vista. So as many trees as we can possibly keep on that backside. I understand what you got to meet, and I understand the property lines. I understand. I get it. But as many as we can keep on that backside bordering Village Vista. The same goes for lots 14 and 15 that are going bordering Quail Run, because that is a thick set of trees that is back there too. And just taking as many as we can and then leaving a couple, we just got to do better. We've got to be better in that part of the process. Another question that I had, do you have a landscape plan for the neighborhood at all? Is there any other, besides the entrance, is there any other landscaping that's going to be provided along the sidewalks in the neighborhood or on the opposite side?
We do not have a formal landscape plan completed as of right now.
Okay, is that something that's going to be submitted?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That tree protection plan has been mentioned.
Okay. Jason, with these are 21 homes. Is 21 homes the max for conventional?
That's
For this
all
property?
That's all they're gonna be able to get in there, yes.
So for conventional, the
density
max amount of
requirement.
homes is 21, so we can't go any higher from there.
They're
by
they're
right.
at their maximum right now.
Okay,
And with the infrastructure requirements, with the stormwater roads and things.
just still wouldn't happen.
No, because they've got to keep the 15,000 square foot minimum lot.
And if they decided to shrink lot sizes, that would require rezone to come before the commission, correct?
Commission and then on to council.
Okay, have we got any involvement from the fire department yet for hydrants or fire trucks in and out?
Yeah, so I reviewed it with the fire marshal and just spoke with him just yesterday as well. And with the 24 pavement, 26 with the rolled curb, fire is not really concerned at this point. During their official review, if there is some sort of a concern, we have the right to limit or not allow on-street parking if that's a concern. With the hydrant locations, there's fire code requirements for minimum distances. So if it doesn't meet current, they'll have to install new.
Okay, so prior, leaving the commission tonight, is there anything else that will be required of them to submit before Fountain and Stamps drawings?
So as they mentioned, the landscaping plan needs to be submitted along with the tree survey.
Lighting, I didn't see any lighting in there either. Is that something that's also supposed to be submitted?
They'll need to submit details. Duke Energy will be the ultimate decider where they're placed.
Okay.
But they can provide the detail of the style of lighting that'll be chosen for the development and those type of things, and a guesstimate of where they'll be located on site.
Okay, and with these buffers, are we going back and double checking that these buffers are actually being met on these projects?
I can't speak for past projects when I wasn't here, but absolutely. I'm on site making sure that tree protection is maintained, buffers are maintained.
Does that tree protection plan get submitted to the city too?
Yes,
So the city has either will have a copy or currently has a copy of the tree protection plan?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission?
I just have a few thoughts and concerns. I'm 32 years old. In my entire life, this has been contaminated land. And I don't know if that's just small town rumor or what. I want to see like a piece of paper saying that this has been cleared. Because this land, the land across from it, the Wilson plan, my entire life has been
Mine too.
contaminated
Mine too.
land. Second, I am really concerned about both Village Vista and Quail Run Circle houses, and there's no buffer. I think that we have to put something, especially with Village Vista, with it being an incline there. They're already small lots, and now they're gonna have nothing to protect them, because the backyards are gonna be kissing. So I think there has to be something there. With fire, and it being two cul-de-sacs, there's not a requirement for an emergency exit, even like gravel or anything? It's
No, the
okay?
lot count isn't high enough.
Okay. My other thought was, not many of the Quail Run residents talked about the sidewalks, Walt did at the end, but I think there should be a beautiful 5-foot sidewalk all the way down there. But I don't want to say that if the residents are gonna be upset about the crepe myrtles being torn down. So we need to decide about the sidewalks, for sure. If we're gonna require it and
Would
have
we
them
need-
re-landscape it,
Good question.
or
Would
do
we
they
have,
wanna keep the crepe myrtles?
would we have to waive on Main and waive on Quail Run Circle? Would we have to waive for both?
Wherever it's requested to not place a sidewalk on the main road would have to be waived by the planning.
But as a requirement, a land development requirement, as it currently sits,
There
they would
should
have
be
to have a sidewalk on
On the
Main
main roads.
and on Quail Run Circle.
Correct.
As it sits.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have to go, but also I am against waiving that.
Okay.
Those sidewalks.
Okay, thank you.
I think definitely Main Street has to have.
I'm more inclined to require on Main Street than I am inclined to require on Quail Run Circle, because as long as I've been alive and driven through Quail Run with family that has been in and out of there, those streets have always been there. As far as I can physically remember, and I don't see fit to remove those trees in order to get a sidewalk to go there. I'm okay with, and I understand on Main, you're looking at, I don't know, what, couple hundred feet, maybe more, slightly more.
now, though.
I don't even know if there's even gonna be room with what's there to even put a sidewalk, to be honest with you, with the trees that are there. I would almost rather not even require that either, because there's gonna have to be some trees removed that border, and as a matter of fact, there might actually be, is there a sidewalk there currently borders Main? Okay, so there's already a sidewalk on Main, so we don't even have to worry about
We're worried
Main.
about Quill Run.
So I'm more inclined to say no on requiring sidewalks on Quail Run Circle. I don't see the need, and maybe that may be something that other people feel differently about, but I would much rather keep the trees in place and not have a sidewalk than to remove a whole side of those trees just to get a sidewalk to border all the way in. Because at what point do you stop? I mean, I guess it would be at the end of what this property line would be, but that seems to be kind of frivolous to do because I don't know if there would be anything to connect to at the end there. There would be a gap of no sidewalk at the end of that property.
Mr. Chairman, I'm in concurrence with your thought there. Those trees are beautiful. I mean,
Yeah, I like them.
I drove, like I said, I drove down there today, and I was impressed with that.
Are they gonna replace them if they're killed in development?
Well, that's the next question. Let's say something happens during this development and these trees are hit, bumped. Is there assurances in place that they're going to replace them if they damage them? I know they've got to remove two. I understand that but when construction happens and you have heavy equipment, things are bound to happen. They just are. Are there going to be, is there anything that we can do from our side to say, hey, if they damage a tree, one's got to go back? Of the same quality, not something stubby.
So if the developer wishes tonight, or their representative to make a statement on record that they would do so, I can use that as a enforceable action.
Yeah, if we break it.
We have no issue. If one of the trees is disturbed, hit by construction equipment during it, it will be replaced of equal.
Thank you.
equivalency.
Okay, last thing. I know I have asked, similarly asked this question. I understand that there was a phase one. I get it, 100%. It's out there, BLE did it. That's fantastic. We don't get to see what BLE said. I understand that for approval, you get to see that and get to factor that in. Is that an item that we can conditionally apply on the motion to say, as long as this was approved, as long as there was no recommendations? Is that something that we can add to the motion here for that? I understand you get to see it and you get to approve it, but we don't get to see that. We don't get to know. There's nothing that we get to see for that.
Absolutely, you can add that on, that it's something that's done, and that your approval's conditional on it.
And if that is that a foiable item?
Once it's in the possession of the city, it's foiable.
Okay, thank you.
But just for clarity, since you're asking for this, what you are asking is a possible condition for, make sure that it's been verified, that the findings of the study are that it is clean and it does not require any remediation or further steps to a future phase. Okay.
That would be my preference, because I agree with them. I mean, if all of a sudden they go disturbing dirt and whoopsie daisy,
Yeah.
We hit a pocket of contamination and it goes up into the air and it starts, hurting people, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
And I would rather it be on record that we required something so that if something ever was to go south, we could point back at BLE and say, you gave us a study that says that this was clean.
Absolutely.
And I want that to be on record as something that, and I'll include that in the motion so that we have it. Anything further from the commission?
I had a question someone brought up about a dumping area. Has there been any record of debris dumping?
Behind my house.
Mhm.
Is that what you're asking
Yes,
about?
yes.
Yeah, you can walk back there and you can see the tires, you can see the batteries, the old oil cans. You can see car parts buried back there. And I'm talking probably 30 yards behind my house. And I'm sure if they dumped all that, they dumped used oil and everything else they could on that property. And I don't know how far it goes back. I just know my children discovered it when we first moved in.
And you're at 424?
Huh?
Which, you're at 422?
422.
422.
Yeah. It may go back even further in those woods. I just didn't want to go back in and look for it.
Any further questions or discussion from the commission here? Okay, seeing none. Do I have a motion that the Planning Commission approve the preliminary plat for SP 2025-06 Sanctuary at Quail Run with the condition that a EPA study is provided to the city? This EPA study is clean, and this EPA study does not require anything further from the developer to do for them to be able to develop. And if they do require something, that this is done before permits are issued.
Don't forget sidewalks too.
And as part of this, we waive the sidewalk requirement on Quail Run Circle. Sidewalks will not be required on Quail Run Circle. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor by uplifting of hand? All those opposed? All right, seeing no other items on our agenda tonight, do I have a motion that we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And I make the second. All those in favor by uplifting of hand? We are adjourned.